Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. It's time to have a look at a changelog which came out yesterday after the It's Fixed, but also there is a returning premium which is actually a pretty decent one. The Israeli A-4E has returned on its anniversary, and it's going to be back until the 15th of July, and it's going to be available for GE. It's pretty pricey for what it is, especially after some of the changes, but we'll get into it and kind of give my thoughts on the vehicle. So the Israeli A-4E is back. This one is one of those which got affected by the different battle ratings in different modes, and let's be honest, it had to. This vehicle was very overpowered in ground at 8.7, and now at 9.3, it's a lot more balanced. The vehicle itself can bring 3 guided bombs, 2 walleyes and a GBU-8. These are incredibly effective, especially in ground forces, and running it with the Macavers, which are all incredibly fun vehicles, will work really well. The only issue at the moment with the A4s, since it's at 9.3, it does get some pretty crazy matchmaking at 10.0 and also 10.3, which basically means that you have to deal with a lot better vehicles. But if you can get into this thing early and get it, you know, up there and attacking, you can actually do quite a lot with it. Now, in a realistic, this thing being at 8.7, I don't think it's great at 8.7. The vehicle has access to the AIM-9Bs, it does have access to rockets and bombs, and also guns if you want to, but it is incredibly slow for the BR, and also at the same time has countermeasures, which are quite nice, but mostly you're not really going to face anything with any crazy missiles. You are just not really fast enough to be able to affect the battle, and that is the biggest issue with the A4s. They basically just become fodder for a lot of people running fighters. And also with a lot of the BR changes coming in, especially 10.0 and above, that's going to unlock 9.3 again, and they're just going to pound you into the ground. The vehicle does have quite a nice RWR for ground, which is quite good. It also technically has a radar, but it's not very useful. And one of the big differences between this and the American A4s is it has access to 30mm DEFAs, which have 300 rounds in total. The vehicle's fine though. If you want to run it in ground, I would say you can run it in ground. You do also have this though, which is the early M in the tech tree, which you can run instead. There's really not too much difference between this one and the A4E, the good old premium one. So yeah, it's not exactly something which is going to be too different. But if you don't want to grind out the A4E in the tech tree, then of course you can use the premium one. The tech tree for Israel isn't exactly the best. It can be a bit of a pain to actually get through, so I can understand if people wanted just to buy the A4E and just play it, but honestly, it'll give you exactly the same as this, so if you are okay with grinding out the tech tree, just get this one, so you can run it as a CAS vehicle. So yesterday, you may remember during the It's Fixed, unfortunately the link to the changelog, which was attached to it, didn't work. Well now, it seems like it works, and we have update 2.37.0.63. And what this update brings is a lot of stuff we talked about yesterday, but also many other additions to specific vehicles, and also some clarification. For example, when it comes to the wings tear-off, it's actually interesting how it used to work and how it's going to work in the future. So now, wings don't tear off instantly after reaching the maximum allowed overload, but rather after it has been exceeded for some time. Damage does not accumulate during the flight and is reset when normal overloads are reached. So this is probably going to help a lot of vehicles, including stuff like the F-86s, the A4s, also other vehicles like the G91s, which generally have a bit of a problem when it comes to actually keeping their wings where they should be. For me, in general, a lot of these vehicles I actually uninstall boosters on because I personally just have such an issue turning too hard and then the wings falling off. The Crusaders is also something which is a bit annoying when it comes to this. So looks like they have actually now changed it. I'm going to have to do a bit of testing with those vehicles, see if it's still the same or not, but it should make flying them a lot easier. There was also a bug with the disabled constant elevation of radar antenna setting that caused the required antenna elevation angle to change when the aircraft's nose was raised or lowered beyond the radar gimbal limits. Now, if the player did not move the antenna in elevation themselves, as soon as the aircraft's orientation allows it, the antenna will return to its previous required position relative to the horizon. So that's quite nice, instead of it getting stuck where it's not supposed to be. Also, target markers in TWS mode or in the single target track mode are no longer restricted by radar antenna gimbal limits as well. So missiles with a data link will receive mid-course updates to correct extrapolated target positions, even if it's outside of the limits. At the same time, illuminating a target outside the antenna gimbal limits is still impossible at medium and long ranges greater than 5 kilometers. So generally this won't affect too many things, since most of the time you are actually firing the missiles. It's usually longer than those distances, but we'll see. We'll see how it does at high tier. It's going to be interesting to see when they bring in all of the BR changes and also, of course, the missile changes, because then, we'll finally be able to see what it looks like to be a little bit more balanced. There was also a bug where the activation of the sight stabilization and activate target point functions disrupted radar target tracking in the TWS mode. Looks like the TWS mode was just having a ton of issues, and since that is one of the major ones that people use, it's a little bit rough. There was also a bug where the radar of the TWS tracking mode might spontaneously switch the selected target when some other target disappeared from the radar screen. That's been fixed too. So we talked about that yesterday. And the operating range of the optical target tracker in aircraft no longer decreases when switching to third-person mode, which is what we talked about yesterday too. Always found it a bit weird that that's the case, but I do kind of understand it, because it's probably something to do with like view distance. In different modes and also in different ways of looking at things, you do actually see a different set of things. So, for example, if you actually have a look at your crew skills on your ground vehicles and you go over keen vision, you'll have like absolute detection, and then you'll have the other ones. So let's see. Where is it? Yeah, so you have absolute detection, movement line detection, and line of sight detection, right? So all of these are based around if, targets are moving, and also what view you're using, whether you're using binoculars or whether you're using other stuff. And this is something which is kind of key to when you see things. So depending on what mode you're in, you might see a target from a mile away, and if you don't see it, it's because you're in the wrong mode. And I'm guessing aircraft had a similar feature, and now they've obviously made it a little bit better. In simulator battles, RWRs will now detect all radars and active radar homings with overlapping frequency ranges regardless of the type of signal, as in realistic battles. For example, the SPO-10 previously could not detect radiation in PD modes, but now can. The friend or foe function will also work for RWRs, capable of identifying exact radars, which means the detection radiation from allies will not be shown on the indicator of affected RWRs, which is really cool, because, of course, there is a lot of people who, have a bit of a problem in Sim with the whole team killing thing, not working out who is alive and who is on their team and who is not on their team. So this will hopefully help them, which is quite good. But also at the same time, it makes it a little bit more realistic. The Su-25SM-3, there was a bug that caused the frame showing the Seeker gimbal limits of the KH-38ML missile to appear only when rolling. That's been fixed. Well, that's kind of weird. Haven't heard anything about that machine recently, but at the same time, it's one of the most annoying machines to face at high tier, because, as I said, people just spawn it in, they look at the spawn, they lock onto targets, they fire, and then they turn and go away. And it's one of the big issues in War Thunder. Like, I had an A10 the other day. We were just like kind of playing on a conquest mode, and since it's a conquest mode, you only have like a few areas where you can actually go on it, and all he did was spawn, stare at our spawn on the ground, and then just fired off all of his Mavericks, and then turned around and went, and there was 4 kills, as easy as that, and he didn't have to do anything. It's one of the problems with the spawn issue, and it's why I've always said it might be worth creating a spawn which is more of like a length of an area instead of a specific place, or just to try and get out of the spawn as quick as you can, because people always just stare at the spawns when they're using those types of vehicles, because there's going to be guaranteed vehicles in there. The SU-25T and SU-39, there was a bug that caused the weight in the Mercury targeting pod to display in pounds, so that's been fixed, which is kind of a random one. Also, the F-16A, there was a bug where the PIDS pylons were incorrectly displayed, and also they fixed the ballistic computer, which we talked about yesterday, and also the F-16AM for France, they fixed the stuff on that too. The EVGA Plus, the ability to display the RWR information has been added to the left MFD of the cockpit, which is kind of cool. And also the F5E, there was a bug that caused the drop tanks to constantly be displayed in X-ray mode, so they've fixed that, which is a bug we've seen quite a lot actually with general stuff. Always found it a little bit weird that is around. Then also the Hunter F6 for France, there was a bug that made it impossible to make a combined weapon preset with the drop tank and the AIM-9B missile. It's so weird, the Hunter F6, by the way. We have 3 Hunter F6s with 3 different capabilities, all at really random BRs. And with the change to BRs which are coming out, hopefully, we will see the Hunters come a bit more to prominence, but I doubt it, because the performance generally isn't the best. The BF-109 F4, there was also a bug that caused the additional MG151 wing cannons to display in X-ray mode when using 450-pound or 50-kilo bombs. That loadout can be pretty deadly against AAs, by the way, because you can just overpressure them, and that's quite nice. The F-1CT, they added more countermeasures. The MiG-29 SMT, there was a bug where the countermeasures in the pods under the rudders were not counted as high caliber, so that's been fixed. And then also the Nesha, the Kafir Kanad, and Shahak, there was a bug where the drop tanks dropped instantly to the ground. That's been fixed. So they would just morph into the ground. That's quite fun. The Tornadoes and also the Vigans, specifically the AJ-37 and AGS-37, the BOS countermeasure pod has received additional chaff, and it's received like 600, so it's kind of nuts how much you can bring now. So that's pretty awesome. In ground vehicles, they fixed the Panzer and the Tor M1, the stuff that we talked about yesterday in the It's Fixed, so nothing new there. There was a bug, though, where turning the engine off in a test drive using the realistic battle mode and leaving the battery to drain caused the drained state of the battery to appear in arcade battles afterwards for all vehicles has been fixed. What is that bug? What? So if you're in realistic battle mode in a test drive and you let your battery drain, so it gets to 0, you leave the test drive and then you go into arcade battles, and then the 0 is there in the middle of the screen the whole time? What type of bug is that? That is ridiculous. that is such an odd set of things to even see or know about. That's crazy. I love little bugs like that because they're just so insane. Like they're just to think about, first of all, how somebody found that, and second of all, how that actually happened. But luckily it's fixed. Also, the Tiger 2P, the incorrect ammo loading order and amount has been fixed, which is good. There was also a bug where selecting a machine gun prevented the driver's NVG from working. That's been fixed too, so that's nice. And a bug that caused a message to display saying that the control system was broken and required repair when the battery charge was depleted in sniper scopes. That's been fixed too, which is quite good. They also fixed a bunch of naval stuff, which is nice to see. The fuse sensitivity on the 75mm OPF MLE 1917 SAP shell has been changed, and the delay has been added to it. I need to get back into the French vehicles, actually. They're pretty fun, or were pretty fun to play. I'm going to have to go and spade some of them that they've recently added. The HMS Queen Mary, the incorrect description of the torpedoes and X-ray mode has been corrected. For the Leopard and the Lukes, the incorrect description of the anti-aircraft weapons and X-ray mode has been corrected too. And the Sionen, the displayed amount of 120mm guns, ammunition in the X-ray has been corrected too. The Kuma has also increased in size, it's now over 7,000 tons, and also has increased speed, but only by 1 kilometer an hour, so not really going to make too much of a difference for that one. They also fixed some graphics stuff. The performance degradation when using chaff has been fixed, and also a bug that caused ejection seats to remain floating in the air during the second and subsequent ejections in the same session has been fixed. Well, that would have been cool to see. just people floating around the place, which is pretty awesome. Game mechanics wise, they've actually changed a bunch of stuff. So the maximum range of setting target designation markers for squad mates has been increased. So for naval vessels, helicopters, reconnaissance UAVs, and scout hydroplanes, the range has increased to 30 kilometers, and for aircraft and attack UAVs to 50. For ground vehicles, the range remains the same at 10 kilometers. So basically, you'll be able to target designate a lot further out compared to what you were before. This obviously will help out and push more people to squad, which generally you should, just to kind of help each other out. In ground realistic battles as well, the spawn point cost of AAMs now depends only on the seeker type and does not take the combined mass of the missiles into account. So the active radar homing missiles now cost 37% of the carrier cost, other types of AAMs cost 10%, and in ground realistic battles, this is the big one. The spawn point cost of guided bombs is now calculated separately from the unguided ones, which is something that should have happened since the beginning. I don't know who thought they were the same, but sure. The minimal increase in spawn points cost now depends on the combined mass of equipped guided bombs. So with a mass of 500 kilo and less, the increase is 20% of the carrying aircraft cost. With a mass of 2,000 kilos and more, the increase is 40%. With a mass of 500 to 2,000, the increase is calculated linearly from 20 to 40. So they're basically saying that guided bombs are better than dumb bombs, which shouldn't be a surprise. This is a very positive change. Hopefully we can see more of these changes going forward and also get people to try different things instead of just using the same stuff over and over and over again. Interface-wise, they've done a bunch of changes, just an insane amount of little changes here and there. For example, the background images for the daily reward window has been updated, and also they look really nice. They basically just take the wallpapers that they've been creating for different updates and then just plonk them in. I think it's fine. It looks good. And also kind of, I believe something like that was leaked a really long time ago, maybe a few months ago. And I'd have to look at it again, because there was this idea that maybe it was like going to be a sale thing or a discount thing, but no, instead it's just for that. The ability to change the order of crews in the hangar by dragging them with the cursor has been added. To do this, simply drag the crew slot and the crew information block. So there you go. Now you have full integration with the moving around of stuff. So if you want to do that, it's possible to do, which is really cool. So yeah, hopefully that can help people. The UI changes have been really good this update. Probably the best part of it, if I'm honest. I know a lot of people have been enjoying some of the new mechanics, but for me, one's definitely better. The window for placing vehicles into a crew slot has also been changed, which we've talked about previously. The logic for notifying the player about the opportunity to upgrade crew skills has also been changed, so it's a lot easier. The reserve a selected spawn point when clicking the map in the spawn window has been removed too, and in battle in the spawn window, the style of the to battle button for vehicles that use a backup has been changed. Yeah, they gave it like a kind of border, I believe. The player ground vehicle destruction replay no longer shows the incoming shot. I don't know if you guys have actually watched the new death cam. It's hilarious when it comes to planes. But basically what it does is instead of showing you like the shot and then going in, it shows you the shot going in, and then it shows you where the guy was sitting. So generally, it's fine. The air one, it follows the aircraft after it's destroyed you. So you just see the aircraft like from a really dodgy angle as it's trying to do some funny things. So yeah, the camera in the player vehicle destruction replay is now directed towards the player's lost vehicle, which is, as I said, it doesn't really change too much, but it looks kind of funny. And also, at the same time, it makes it so, the castings are quite funny when you die from it. In the spawn window, the color of the crew information has been made more transparent and less bright, and also it's now possible to drag a vehicle from the research window to a crew slot, even if that vehicle is already in a crew slot. A message describing that the vehicle is already in a crew slot and that it can be moved or removed will appear when doing this. So if you want to move it around without having to just do it in your crew, I suppose. There was a bug where the crew index was not displayed in the window for placing vehicles into an available crew slot. That one's been fixed. There was also many other bugs with the new UI, which they have also fixed and moved around. And in replays, in sensor view mode, the display range of markers has been increased to 100 kilometers. So the marker detail ranges have also been increased, which is really cool. Like, it's nice to see those pretty in-detail replays. I'm sure at some point somebody will use them pretty effectively, just to kind of show stuff. There's also a hint has been added when trying to launch an ACGM or AGM outside the launch zone of the aircraft, basically saying that you're not able to. And for locations, Carpathians, there was a bug that caused some bushes to keep reappearing after falling, so that's been fixed. And in air conquest missions, the spawn height for aircraft has been increased, taking into account the mission landscape. Right, so that's basically making it so you don't run into hills, and that's pretty nice. For appearance and achievements, the brown camouflage for modern German vehicles is now automatically selected only for urban locations, and only the tricolor desert camo will remain tied to desert locations, which is good, because the brown camouflage made absolutely no sense in desert stuff and would actually make you stand out more than the standard camouflage, so overall not too bad. So a huge changelog, bunch of changes over the last few days for War Thunder, and hopefully we can get some news soon about new events and also some new Battle Pass stuff. But right now, with the amount of effort they're putting into bug fixes and stuff, it's nice to see. And we obviously have stuff like the Pages of History going on and the end of the Battle Pass too. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem, Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.